Quartet is an old-school console-style RPG with a modernized combat system and a narrative that focuses heavily on its unusual setting. Quartet is the story of magic and how it affects the lives of four people: a chef, a minor noble, a soldier, and a shop assistant. Each of them comes from a different land with a different philosophical approach to magic, treating it as an everyday tool, a long-since abandoned superstition, or a looming threat. Slowly, their individual stories converge upon a common point and a grand secret that unifies all of their societies. A disaster broke their world in the past, and they'll have to race to stop it from happening again. The game is a traditional JRPG using the staggered turn system that's now more or less standard to the genre. Combat mechanics are also typical, though there are a few quirks. There's a greater emphasis on special abilities, with all characters regenerating their mana automatically and each having an ability that accelerates that regeneration further. Regular attacks also have their own distinct elements, which is important as hitting weaknesses is particularly important here. There are lots of party members, though only 2 permanent members from each of the 4 introductory stories. After completing the intro sequence for each of the protagonists, which takes around 5 to 6 hours overall, the player will have an 8-person party with 4 active members at any given time. On any character's turn, the player can swap that character for an inactive member without giving up that turn. Inactive party members continue to regenerate mana, so swapping is key to take full advantage of everyone's skills. Returning to the story, Quartet is something of a mixed bag. The characters are varied and distinct in their personalities and voices, and the setting, which is absolutely central to the plot, is a creative masterstroke. However, the science fantasy story also lends itself to an excess of expository dialogue, and the whole thing ends up coalescing around a World War II allegory that doesn't quite land. And the less said about the humorous sections, the better. Overall, Quartet is an old-school RPG meant for fans of the style. It's not going to change anyone's mind, but it's a great throwback all the same. Inkshade is a roguelike built around a simple TRPG-like system. It is driven by story and atmosphere with a heavy focus on slow-building horror and the unknown. You have awakened in a strange building, seated before a shadowy, multi-armed creature who expects you to play a game with him. Taking on the role of a sky captain, you are tasked with assembling the gear needed to reach a mysterious area known as the Abyss. As you delve deeper into the game and explore your surroundings, it soon becomes clear that there's something more going on here, but your captor isn't eager to reveal much, at least not until the game is over. Let's get this out of the way right from the jump. Inkshade borrows a lot of aesthetic and design elements from Inscryption, including the general board game framing device, a faceless antagonist typically seen only as a pair of glowing eyes, and the ability to step back from the board and explore the environment freely. Where it differs is in the core gameplay, which is built around a simple tactical combat system. At the start of combat, the player chooses a set number of pieces randomly selected from the available stock. Combat is quite basic, with most of the units lacking any unusual attributes. Any player pieces that are defeated are gone for the duration of the run, but the player can also earn temporary pieces from winning fights or encountering certain events. Permanently available pieces can be upgraded between runs, which makes Inkshade play more like a conventional RPG than a roguelike. It's a functional system, though it can grow repetitive after a while. But let's return to the aesthetics for a minute, because this is a definite strength. Both the game board and the surrounding building are highly detailed and interesting to look at, and the rooms beyond the board are full of puzzles and secrets. The sound design is a particular standout, with the hollow rattle of the game pieces having some real resonance. It all combines to create a subtle, pervasive sense of dread. Horror built around uncertainty over what you're experiencing. Overall, Inkshade is well worth considering for horror aficionados, but roguelike fans might want to give it a pass. Wanderstars is a roguelike RPG with an aesthetic style based on 90s anime. It's based on turn-to-turn tactics and demands a lot of understanding of its system to play it to its fullest. Ringo is a young martial artist in training with dreams of becoming a superstar fighter. While out on an errand for her grandmother, she crosses paths with the fortune seeker Wolf, a shady figure looking for any way to get out from under his debts. Wolf reveals that Ringo's normal-looking phone charm contains a piece of the Wanderstar map, a mysterious item leading to an unknown treasure somewhere in deep space. Thus begins a journey that will see Ringo seeking out her lost brother, growing in strength as a fighter, and hopefully not getting too timed by her traveling companion. Wander Stars is structured like a roguelike deck builder, but rather than collecting cards or dice, the player accumulates words used to assemble custom attacks. Using a limited number of possible words per turn, the player combines action, element, and modifier cards to create combos that resemble the attack calls from some shonen anime and manga. Most deck builders are designed around creating overpowered combos and decks, but Wander Stars is more about tactics and precision. For example, weaknesses and resistances are more complex than in many games. Enemies can be strong or weak to anything, including individual attacks, and the list of traits can be very long. Hitting a weakness not only deals more damage, but also allows the player to use more words. Ringo also has weaknesses and resistances, and keeping track of them becomes critical as the enemies grow in strength. Fights in Wander Stars are matches of honor, and this again brings up the importance of precision. Each enemy has a breakpoint, a specific HP range in which they will stop fighting. Push every enemy into this range, and Ringo can end the fight peacefully, gaining additional bonuses based on the enemies. Bosses, meanwhile, have multiple HP ranges which can result in them healing, using power attacks, or doing nothing. Ideal strategy requires dealing enough damage to keep the boss outside of those more dangerous ranges, which requires a lot of knowledge of enemy weaknesses and the combat system. The aesthetics of Wander Stars don't really require a lot of explanation, but it is truly impressive how far the developers went to recreate the look and feel of low-budget 90s anime. Everything from the washed-out grain over the graphics, the tinny triumphant music, the rapid animation loops, the design and expression of the characters, it's all on point. As they promise, this really is playable anime. Overall, Wander Stars is a great variation on the well-worn deck builder mechanics and worth a look if you're interested in something with a different feel. Luck and Loot is a dice-based roguelike with a focus on customizing a small set of dice. As with most similar games, manipulating luck and mitigating risk are the key abilities. The player has 4 dice which are rolled each round. The faces on these dice can include any standard deck builder skill types: damage, block, healing, and utility. There is no energy, and the player can play all 4 dice each round, though it is possible for a die to land on an empty side that does nothing. As with any dice-based game, learning how to control luck is necessary. The means of doing this in Luck and Loot are far simpler than in something like Astria. Each turn, the player gets a select number of rerolls that can be used to selectively reroll any or all of the dice. The limits on this method also require that the players structure the dice properly. Each die is massively customizable. The player earns new skills that can be added to one side of a die or sacrificed to level a die up, adding passive abilities. The only restrictions here are the number of faces and a capacity limit that stops the player from stacking powerful abilities on one die. Skills can be swapped around at any time outside of battle, but breaking the game is a lot harder in Luck and Loot than in many other deck builder type games. The actual gameplay is straightforward, and there aren't going to be too many surprises for veterans of the style. There aren't as many event or enemy types as in some similar games, which makes planning easier but can also make runs feel similar. Overall, Luck and Loot is a solid deck builder that is recommended to more experienced players due to the luck element and the difficulty curve in designing the die. House of Necrosis is a dungeon-crawling RPG themed after 90s-era survival horror games, most notably Resident Evil. It's a real throwback that's more accessible than such games tend to be, while remaining a significant challenge. The player takes control of a lone agent exploring a suspiciously familiar forest-bound mansion, which has become overrun with deformed creatures and the living dead. It turns out that even death offers no escape from the mansion, as the protagonist awakens again within its walls no matter what grim fate befalls her. Her savior, a strange merchant with an annoying laugh, can only tell her that the sole way out is to go deeper and discover what lies at the heart of the mansion. House of Necrosis is a true roguelike RPG. More than mere procedural generation, it features mechanics, visual layouts, and even a control scheme similar to early mystery dungeon games such as Tornico or Shiren the Wanderer. Gameplay is turn-based, with everyone acting at the same time, but the player's actions usually getting priority. Attacking, taking a step, or throwing an object takes a turn, while turning in place does not. On most floors, the goal is to find the exit and escape while fighting off enemies. Certain floors house a boss monster that must be killed to open the exit, but others allow a quick sprint for the door. Of course, As with any good dungeon crawler, the fast approach means giving up experience and gear. This includes melee weapons, firearms, and jackets, all of which can carry various bonuses, anonymous potions, throwable hexes, and a range of navigation-enhancing consumables. Unlike most similar games, this equipment is not necessarily lost after a run. Some items offer permanent run-to-run boons, such as spells that can be used once per run over and over, and pack upgrades that increase carrying capacity. Other items can be stored or retrieved from chests that appear in safe rooms after bosses, or carried out by using a special escape item. The ability to retain equipment is just one aspect that makes House of Necrosis more forgiving than most similar games. Traps are relatively rare, while healing items are abundant. There is no equipment durability, and only certain weapons and pieces of armor are at risk of breaking. Many items are unidentified, but there are easy ways to identify them, and they're seldom all that deadly to the player. All of this makes House of Necrosis a good entry point, though it's still a healthy challenge for more experienced players. Overall, House of Necrosis is a top-notch roguelike with a satisfying, well-balanced campaign, and it gets extra points for its commitment to its PlayStation-era aesthetic.